Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're taking a closer look at AI-generated text and how it's shaking things up in the world of writing. AI is already cranking out articles, student papers, even research, and it's getting tougher and tougher to tell what's human and what's machine-made.
It really is amazing how fast things are changing. It wasn't that long ago that AI writing was pretty easy to spot, but now tools like ChatGPT, especially that free 3.5 version everyone's using, are pumping out some pretty convincing stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of freaky how good it's getting. It's almost like AI is learning to write better than some people I know. But really, this brings up some big questions, right?
Mm.
How do we even tell what's real and what's AI? We dug into some sources that are actually showing us ways to both detect AI-written content and then on the flip side, make that AI writing look more human.
Yeah, it's a total cat and mouse game. As those detection methods get more advanced, well, the techniques to kind of slip past them, they also get more advanced. It's like an arms race, but with words.
Okay, so let's break this down. One source we found talks about how plagiarism checkers, like Turnitin, the one that's used in tons of schools, are now catching up with AI.
Right.
They've updated their software to actually flag content that's AI generated.
That's a pretty big deal. It really shows you how seriously institutions are taking this. Academic integrity is all about knowing the work is actually the student's own work and not, something cooked up by a computer.
Totally. And it's not just Turnitin that's stepping up. There are other tools out there like GPT-0 and the GPT-2 output detector demo. They look at text and try to figure out if it was written by AI. And they often use these concepts like perplexity and burstiness.
Yeah, those words sound kind of technical, but
Yeah.
actually they're pretty simple. Perplexity just measures how complex the text is. And then burstiness looks at how much variation there is in sentence structure. Humans naturally mix things up, right? We use long and short sentences, but AI tends to be more uniform, kind of robotic.
So if I'm reading something and it feels too perfect, too consistently structured, that could be like a red flag that it's AI. It's like it's trying to be too good and it trips itself up.
Exactly. It's those subtle inconsistencies that often give away the AI. A few other giveaways, you often see repetitive phrases, factual errors, which is ironic, right? That an AI would make mistakes.
Yeah.
And then just kind of a lack of personal stories or that natural flow that you get with human writing.
Yeah, it's like it's missing that spark of personal experience, that human touch that makes writing relatable. And we're not just talking about detecting AI here, right? We also have sources showing how people are actively trying to make AI content sneak past these detectors. It's like they're trying to create the perfect AI camouflage.
That's right. We found one source that actually gives a step-by-step guide on how to make AI-generated text fool Turnitin, almost like a cheat code for AI writing.
Whoa, that's wild. What kind of tricks are we talking about here?
Well, it starts with what's called priming ChatGPT. You're basically setting the stage for the AI, telling it, hey, get ready. I'm about to give you some instructions, so you need to write in a way that, mimics human behavior.
So instead of just giving ChatGPT a topic to write about, you're giving it specific instructions on how to write about it. That's pretty clever.
Yeah. And then the next step is actually telling ChatGPT to write with good perplexity and burstiness.
Oh, right. Those terms we talked about.
Exactly. So you're basically forcing the AI to vary its sentence structure and complexity. It's all about mimicking those human patterns.
Wow. It's like we're training AI to be better writers, but then at the same time trying to catch it in the act. But okay, what happens if Turnitin still flags that content?
Well, that's where the final trick comes in. They take that flag text and they paste it back into ChatGPT, but this time they tell it to rewrite it with even better perplexity and burstiness. It's like an AI editing loop to really fine-tune the humanness of the text.
That's amazing. So it's not just about writing with AI. It's about using AI to actually refine AI writing, to make it almost impossible to tell from something written by a human. This whole thing is getting more complex by the minute. But detecting AI is only half the story. Next up, we're going to dive into how people are actively trying to outsmart those detectors and the ethical dilemmas this whole thing raises.
Yeah, it's a constant back and forth, and these tricks for making AI writing seem more human, they're getting more and more sophisticated.
Yeah, it's like everyone's trying to stay one step ahead. But speaking of steps, one source actually talks about using paraphrasing tools as another way to kind of mask AI-generated text.
Right. Paraphrasing, I mean, it can be helpful, but it's not some magic bullet. Just swapping out a few words here and there isn't going to truly hide those AI fingerprints. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm.
Yeah, it's not going to fool anyone who's paying attention.
Yeah.
And some sources even warn against relying too heavily on those paraphrasing websites because of, like, potential security risks.
That's a good point. One source even mentioned a browser extension called, I think it was Detector, that claims to scan web pages for AI-generated content, but they also brought up some possible security concerns with using it.
So it's like you could be trying to be sneaky and outsmart AI detection, but you might end up putting your own data at risk. That's scary. It's like trying to fight fire with fire and you end up burning down your house.
Exactly. It's a bit of a wild west out there in the digital world, and we have to be careful. Speaking of being careful, another source pointed out that some AI detection tools, they really struggle with languages other than English.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. They tested some of the tools on Italian text, and the results were, I mean, they were way less accurate than with English. Some AI-generated content even got misclassified as human-written.
It's a good reminder that a lot of these technologies are trained on massive data sets of English text. So when you try to apply them to other languages, things can get a little wonky, lost in translation.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We got to use these tools responsibly. Keep in mind their limitations.
That's where human judgment comes in. We can't just blindly trust the algorithms. We got to engage our critical thinking skills and really evaluate the content we're reading.
It's like being a detective. You got to look for clues to uncover the truth behind the text. But how do we become better AI detectives? What are we looking for?
Well, one source points out that AI has a tendency to overuse certain connecting words, like however, moreover, imagine. It's almost like it's trying too hard to sound academic or sophisticated.
It's like the AI is saying, look at me, I'm using all the fancy words, I must be smart. But it's those little slip-ups, those moments where the AI's facade cracks that can be the most revealing.
Exactly. And those clues can often be found just by really looking at the content itself. Does the writing really demonstrate a deep understanding of the topic? Does it flow logically? Does it connect with you on an emotional level?
All good questions to ask. But what about the big picture? I mean, one source actually predicts that by 2025, half of all online content could be AI generated. That's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's a bold prediction for sure. But considering how fast this technology is moving, I mean, it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. Just imagine a world where every time you read an article, a blog post, a product review, you have to wonder, was this written by a human or a machine?
That's kind of unsettling. It's like we're entering this new era of information where we need to be constantly questioning everything we read. So how do we even begin to navigate this new reality? What skills do we need to develop?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. And we're going to explore all of that in part 3 of our deep dive, so stay tuned.
Okay, we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into the world of AI-generated text. Phew! We've covered a lot of ground, from those techie tricks to the ethical questions. My brain's doing backflips.
It really is a lot to take in, but it's so important that we do. I mean, remember that prediction we talked about? Half of all online content could be AI generated by 2025.
Yeah, that one really got me thinking. It feels like we're on the verge of this huge shift in how we create and consume information.
Mm,
It's exciting, but also a little scary, to be honest.
I get that, yeah. We're definitely in uncharted territory. Think about it. Imagine every time you read a news article, a blog post, even a social media update, you have to wonder, is this real? Or is this just some clever AI pulling the strings?
It's like the whole idea of who wrote something is getting flipped on its head. It makes you wonder, how do we even navigate this new reality?
Yeah.
What skills do we need to be good readers and writers in this AI-powered world?
Well, one of the most important skills is definitely critical thinking. We need to be more careful about the information we come across. Question its source, what's the purpose? Are there any biases hidden in there?
It's like we need to become digital detectives, constantly on the lookout for clues to tell us where the content really came from.
Exactly. We can't just sit back and absorb information anymore. We have to actively engage with it, question its validity, and consider different perspectives.
And another source pointed out that even though Google hasn't said they'll penalize AI-generated content, things could change. So even if you're using AI to write, say, blog posts or website content, you could be taking a risk.
That's a good point. It reminds us about how important transparency and ethics are when we're using AI to create content. If you want your audience to trust you, you need to be open about how you're using those tools.
Absolutely. But amidst all these concerns, let's not forget that AI writing tools can also be super useful, right? They can help us brainstorm ideas, get over writer's block, even translate languages. It's like having a super-powered writing assistant by your side.
Absolutely. I think the key here is to see AI not as a replacement for human creativity, but as a tool to enhance it, like a collaboration. Human and machine working together, each bringing their strengths to the table.
Yeah, it's like a partnership. We get the power and efficiency of AI, but we still bring our human intuition, empathy, and creativity to the mix.
That's exactly where I think the most exciting potential for AI in writing lies. Imagine a future where AI helps us break down language barriers, create personalized learning experiences, tell stories in completely new ways. The possibilities are endless.
It's mind-blowing to think about what the future holds. But, like they say, with great power comes great responsibility.
Of course, we have to make sure that AI is used ethically and responsibly, that it empowers us rather than manipulates us. We need to have these open and honest conversations about what it all means and work together to build a future where AI and human creativity can both thrive.
So what does this all mean for you, dear listener? Well, for one thing, it means the way we read, write, and interact with information is changing. We have to be more discerning, more critical, more aware of the forces shaping the digital world around us.
We have a responsibility to educate ourselves about these technologies, to really think about them and discuss them, and to advocate for ethical guidelines so that AI is used to benefit everyone.
We're at a crossroads where we can choose to embrace AI's potential, but also protect those values that make us human. Creativity, empathy, and that power of genuine connection.
The future of writing isn't set in stone. It's a story we're all writing together.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of AI-generated text. It's a complicated topic, always evolving, but we hope you've learned some valuable insights along the way. If you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to subscribe to our channel, leave a like, and tell us your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Until next time, stay curious.